Tanari was 12 years old the day her world ended. Not in fire, not in a grand explosion of stars, but in silence. That was the cruelty of it. The silence of her people's cries, the indifference of the galaxy, and the soundless hum of a slaver ship as it pierced her planet's skies like a knife through paper. She remembered the invasion in flashes, the warm glow of their bioluminescent city dimming into shadow, the soft laughter of her siblings turning into the clamor of running feet, the scent of roasted fungal bread mixing with plasma burns. Her father had wrapped his arms around her one last time before shoving her into a service tunnel. "Survive, little flame," he whispered, then sealed the hatch. The door never opened again. Now she sat alone, chained to a cold metal bulkhead inside. The hull of the Broken Maw, one of the Varkari Syndicate's prime vessels. Her wrists were bruised where the cuffs bit into her skin, and her spines, soft quills unique to her species, were shaved to stubs in a show of dominance. The guards thought it was funny. They called her Thing instead of her name. Thing didn't cry. Thing didn't eat unless ordered. Thing learned fast that weakness was rewarded with pain. But Tanari never forgot who she was. She stored her pain like a seed, buried deep, watered with every insult, every kick, every lonely night. One day, it would grow. That day began in the refuse bay. They threw her in there during shifts alongside scrap and broken droids. But Tanari was clever. In the rusted guts of discarded tech, she found what no slaver anticipated: hope. An ancient comms relay, corroded but intact. It took weeks of scavenging copper filaments and chewing through insulation with her filed teeth. She didn't know if anyone would hear her message. But that wasn't the point. She just needed someone to listen. She activated the relay. Its old AI stuttered to life, a broken thing from another age. Destination. Unknown. It whined. "That's fine," she whispered, her voice raw. "Just send this." Her fingers trembled as she recorded the message in crude galactic common. "This is Tanari, daughter of the Makutel. I am a prisoner aboard the Broken Maw. My people are gone. If you can hear this, please help me." The transmission vanished into the void, swallowed by the dark like a prayer whispered into the wind. Light years away, on a blue planet spinning, quietly near a yellow sun, a forgotten satellite blinked to life. "All right, which one of you jackwagons downloaded Doom mods onto the Deep Space Array?" The console room at Fort Garrett's Deep Space Listening Post number 9 was about as prestigious as working security at a library with no books. The coffee machine hissed more than it brewed. The ceiling tiles shed flakes of paint like dandruff, and the official mascot, a taxidermied raccoon in a space helmet, sat in the corner wearing aviators and a free hugs sign. Sergeant Boomer, Wallace chewing on a strip of jerky and scrolling through alien conspiracy memes, squinted at the console. "Sarge," he muttered, tapping the screen. "We got a ping." Commander Jack Monroe leaned back in a chair with a foot on the table, cracked open an energy drink with the gravitas of a man starting a war. "From what? The ghost of Sputnik?" "No, for real, it's a live signal. Audio packet. Alien dialect, too. Old Common." Jack's boots hit the floor with a thud. He grabbed the headset and hit playback. The room went quiet. The message came through with a crackle, a child's voice wrapped in static and fear. Even Boomer, who once fell asleep during an earthquake, sat bolt upright. "My people are gone. If you can hear this, please help me." Silence. Jack stood slowly, eyes hard. "Where'd it come from?" Boomer tapped keys with unusual focus. "Looks like the Lorgan Expanse, no known colonies, just pirate territory. Probably where the signal got bounced." Dr. Cindy Park entered, balancing a mug of tea and a tablet. "Why are you two standing like someone shot your dog?" Jack gestured to the monitor. Kid sent out a cry for help. Cindy's brows knit. "Any government hear it?" "Nope, just us." Jack cracked his neck. "So what do we do?" Cindy blinked. "Jack, this is a peacekeeping outpost. We're not exactly equipped for a—" "I asked what we do, not what protocol says." He turned to Boomer. "Prep the USS Heavy Metal. I want the old girl fueled and armed. Boomer grinned. You really think they'll let us launch that rust bucket? I don't care if I have to ride a weather balloon with C4. That kid called for help. And Earth answers, Boomer said, almost reverently. Damn straight. The USS Heavy Metal was an embarrassment to modern aerospace engineering. A Cold War relic retrofitted with stolen alien tech, nuclear thrusters, and a paint job that looked like it lost a bar fight with a biker gang. But she was fast, armed, and loud. 3 things Jack valued most. Within hours, the crew was assembled, a small, scrappy squad of volunteer maniacs. Most had been deemed too unpredictable, unprofessional, or downright unhinged for official diplomatic missions. Perfect. As the launch countdown began, Jack stood before the main screen, helmet tucked under one arm. Today, he growled, we do not fly for medals. We do not fly for glory. We fly for a girl who screamed into the void, and for some damn reason it screamed back through us. The engine rumbled to life. AC/DC's Thunderstruck blared from the external speakers. Cindy leaned over to Jack. Really? He shrugged. It's motivational. Diplomacy. We'll try words first. Then Lucille. Lucille was Boomer's customized railgun. It had stickers. Back in the bowels of the Broken Maw, Tanari stared at the stars through a porthole. Her message was likely gone, lost. She did not hope for rescue anymore. She hoped for vengeance. She hoped for noise. She hoped someone, somewhere would be angry enough to care. Then the stars moved. No. One star moved. It grew larger, brighter, angrier. The ship's alarms screamed. Crew scrambled. Fighters launched. Tanari pressed her face to the glass as a vessel broke. Through the slaver blockade like a fist through wet parchment. Its hull bore painted flames, and across the front, in bold letters, USS Heavy Metal. Something slammed into her chest. Not fear. Something hotter. Hope. Then, like thunder breaking silence, the ship's external speakers blared. Slavers of the Broken Maw, a voice declared. You hurt a child. That was your first mistake. A beat. A pause. And now we're here. That's your last. Tanari's chains rattled as the ship shuddered from impact. Fire, screaming, chaos. She closed her eyes, lips curling into the first smile she'd allowed herself in weeks. The humans had come, and everything was about to burn. The drop was never silent as the USS Heavy Metal tore through the Broken Maw's outer defenses. The ship's interior pulsed with light and bass. Red emergency strobes mixed with glowing readouts. Smoke hissed from coolant vents, and every corridor echoed with the pounding rhythm of Earth's chosen war anthem. Welcome to the jungle. The humans didn't just arrive. They arrived loud. Commander Jack Monroe checked the lock on his helmet, staring out through the armored viewplate of the drop pod. The visuals displayed slaver turrets swiveling in panic, scrambling to track the incoming projectile. Pod doors primed. Boomer's voice crackled over comms. Payload. Us. Delivery. Pain. Cindy snorted from the next pod. Maybe don't say that right before launch. Too late. Boomer slapped the release and the pod ejected from the undercarriage like a bullet from a railgun. Jack braced himself as the pod screamed through vacuum, shuddering with kinetic resistance. Explosions rippled across the starfield. Missiles. Meeting counterfire. Varkari gunships bursting like overripe fruit. The humans didn't match the alien tech in elegance or design, but they were relentless, chaotic, and deeply, irrationally angry. The pod slammed into the slaver ship's hull, spewing smoke and cutting torches as it bit through layers of metal. The moment it breached, the side detonated. Jack burst out first, twin rifles barking plasma rounds. The corridor beyond was already filled with scrambling Varkari enforcers, tall, skeletal bipeds in rigid armor armed with shock staffs and plasma bolts. Jack didn't bother to announce himself. Cindy leapt out next, firing a compact pulse repeater while muttering in Korean under her breath. Boomer followed with all the subtlety of a brick through glass, shoulder-checking a Varkari. Into a wall, the air inside the slaver ship Broken Maw was hot with ozone and panic. Hallways that once reeked of oil and alien sweat now smelled of scorched circuits and melted armor. The Varkari Syndicate, those proud, elegant monsters who had crushed civilizations into submission, were running. Not regrouping, not strategizing. Running. Jack Monroe stepped over a twitching Varkari lieutenant, his boots crunching shattered armor plates. Plasma scorches lined the walls like neon graffiti. Behind him, Boomer was spray painting something utterly inappropriate on a bulkhead. "Boomer," Jack said without looking back. "Do I even want to know?" "Probably not, boss. But it involves a dancing moose and a very confused-looking Varkari with hearts over its eyes." Cindy, dragging a satchel of liberated slaver tech, rolled her eyes. "Every time we take an enemy vessel, you leave memes behind, like it's a galactic yearbook." Boomer shrugged. "Look, if we're gonna crash their party, we might as well leave a signature." Jack didn't respond. His attention was locked on the map feed. The last known signal from the captured girl had pinged from the lower prisoner decks. The Broken Maw was massive, originally a mining barge before the Varkari turned it into a flying dungeon. It had enough holding cells to store half a species and just as many secrets buried under decks of steel and shame. "Prison decks about half a click down, past maintenance and hydro systems," Cindy reported. "Sensors show life signs, but it's dirty data. Could be a trap." Jack tightened his grip on his rifle. "We've walked into worse." "True," Boomer muttered. "There was that time on Calder Prime when the ambassador turned into a 30-foot worm. Still got acid scars from that," Cindy said with a scowl. Jack led the way into a maintenance shaft, the walls tight and dripping with condensation. Every few meters they passed signs of hasty evacuation. Tools dropped mid-repair, flickering lights and eerie silence. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that came before something broke. Halfway through the crawl space, a hatch above burst open. A Varkari brute dropped into the tunnel, too large for the space, wielding a twin-bladed halberd. Jack ducked the first swing and blasted upward. The impact fried the brute's exosuit, but it kept coming. Boomer cursed, drawing a short-range electroblade and rammed it into the alien's gut. Sparks flew. The brute screamed and collapsed, crushing a pipe as it died. "I think that was their plumbing main," Boomer grunted. "We might have just flushed their entire bathroom system." "Good," Jack said. "They'll die knowing it smelled bad." Cindy grimaced. "You're a poet of vengeance." As they dropped into the next corridor, the lights flickered red. A Varkari alarm system sputtered to life with a high-pitched whine, something between a scream and a klaxon. "They figured out where we are," Cindy muttered. Jack tapped his helmet comm. "Back to stealth. Minimal fire. We get to the girl. We get out." They moved like ghosts, dispatching patrols with precision. Each corner turned revealed more horrors, holding cells stacked with bones, cages filled with half-living beings too, broken to speak. Cindy passed a group of stunned captives and whispered, "We'll come back for you, I promise." Jack knew the cost of promises. He didn't like making them. But today was different. They reached the central security node just 2 decks above the main prison. Boomer cracked the door panel with a humming device cobbled from parts of a Varkari blender and a toaster. How he made it work was a mystery. Even Cindy didn't ask about anymore. The room beyond was lit by a dim blue glow. Consoles lined the walls, alien glyphs scrolling like falling rain. "Pull her location," Jack ordered. Cindy interfaced with the console, her fingers flying. "I've got her. Cell block H, chamber 2. She's alive." And she triggered the beacon. It was her. Jack's jaw tightened. "Then let's bring her home." They descended fast, passing signs of chaos, slavers fighting among themselves, panicked broadcasts in half-finished sentences, demands for reinforcements that weren't coming. Somewhere along the line, the ship's AI had shut down. Whether by accident or Tanari's sabotage, Jack didn't know. Either way, the slavers were blind. Boomer kicked open the last hatch to cell block H with his usual subtlety, an explosive breaching charge wrapped in duct tape. Smoke poured out. Jack stepped in first, and there she was. Tanari stood behind a low force field, gaunt and bruised but alive, her eyes bright with defiance. She didn't flinch when the field powered down. Name? Jack asked, kneeling. Tanari, daughter of Makutel, she said, voice cracking. Commander Jack Monroe, Earth Defense, he replied. We got your message. She blinked. You came? We always come when someone cries for help. It's kinda our thing. Behind him, Cindy cleared her throat. Jack, we've got company. The corridor outside erupted with footsteps. Dozens of Varkari mercs, black armor, plasma rifles, angry expressions. Jack helped Tanari to her feet. Boomer? Prepping Lucille, boss. Jack smiled. Showtime. Boomer stepped into the corridor like a stage actor hitting his mark. Hello, space jerks, you've officially pissed off the wrong species. Earth sends hugs and bullets. He pulled the trigger. The hallway became a riot of light and sound. Jack handed Tanari a small pistol. Stay behind me, but if anything moves and isn't one of us, zap it. She nodded fiercely, clutching the weapon with both hands. Her fingers trembled, but her aim was steady. They fought like wolves. Boomer's gunfire howled. Cindy dropped. Grenades with surgical timing. Jack led with cold fury. Tanari stayed in the back, eyes wide, firing once, then again, until her hands stopped shaking. When the last Varkari collapsed, Jack knelt beside her. You okay? Tanari looked at her hand. I hit one. You did more than that. He nodded. You started this? She didn't smile. Not yet. But there was fire behind her eyes now. The seed of revenge had bloomed. Commander, Cindy said through, gritted teeth tapping her console. More ships inbound. They're scrambling from the nearest Varkari stronghold. We need to jump or get buried. Back to the ship, Jack ordered. Boomer, smoke and mirrors. Boomer grinned. I got the mirrors. All we need now is a big enough distraction. He tapped his wrist pad and triggered something deep inside the broken maw. The lights flickered once, and then explosions began one by one from the engine rooms to the top decks. Cindy stared. You rigged the entire thing? Just the fun parts? Tanari turned to Jack, something new in her voice. Can I watch it burn? Jack nodded once. You earned that. As the group boarded their extraction pod, the ship began to die behind them. Fire tore through the hallways. Screams echoed. The broken maw cracked open like a rotten fruit, spilling debris and vengeance into the void. From orbit, the USS Heavy Metal pulled them in. The child who had whispered into the dark now sat surrounded by humans who had answered. Jack watched, the wreckage fall away, arms crossed. That was the easy part. Cindy raised a brow. Define easy. Now comes the message. One the galaxy won't forget. Tanari looked up. You're going to tell them? Jack met her gaze. No, kid. You're going to tell them. And we're going to make sure they all hear it. She didn't hesitate. Then I will scream. The broadcast went out at Oro 900 Galactic Standard Time. A child's voice, calm, clear, unwavering, pierced across the frequencies of the civilized stars. No fancy signal boost, no encryption, just an open channel, picked up by everyone from freight haulers to planetary governors. My name is Tanari, daughter of Makutel. I was taken from my home. I was beaten. I was sold. She didn't cry, not once. I sent a message to the stars, and humanity answered. That line echoed. Whole species stopped mid-task to replay it. Others went silent, sensing what was coming. Behind her on every screen floated the wreckage of the broken maw, its shattered hull a warning beacon. Human ships passed in the distance, silhouettes of steel and defiance. The galaxy had seen vengeance before, but not like this. Jack watched from the command deck of the USS Heavy Metal, arms folded. Beside him, Boomer sipped a root beer, grinning. I swear, Boomer said. She delivered that line better than I could have. She earned it, Jack replied. Cindy didn't say anything. She was too busy tracking the diplomatic fallout. 3. Varkari trade fleets had rerouted within an hour of the broadcast. The slaver network had gone to full blackout. One pirate lord had already retired by jumping into a star, but Jack wasn't celebrating yet. Status on the retaliation fleets? Cindy pulled up the display. They're rallying, 3 groups, big ones, Varkari battlecruisers, a few Murkow. Warbands, maybe a rogue state or two looking to cash in. Boomer leaned forward. We picking a fight? Jack grinned faintly. We're planting a flag. Tanari stepped onto the bridge just then. She was still small, barely past her 9th year by human count, but she walked like she'd aged 10 lifetimes in 2 weeks. The crew quieted. Even the hardened Marines made way without being asked. She approached Jack. Are we running? He knelt to her level, helmet tucked under one arm. No, we're inviting them. Her brow furrowed. To what? To try, he said. And to fail. The trap had already been set. Hours earlier, a joint human fleet had deployed an outpost on the edge of neutral territory, ostensibly a refugee checkpoint, but really a decoy. Inside, 50 Marines, 2 engineers, 1 cantankerous AI named Carl, and enough firepower to punch through a planet's crust. Jack stared at the map. They'll go for it. They'll want to make an example. Boomer laughed. So do we. The enemy arrived in force. A fleet of 30 ships emerged from Fold space, led by the Veil Fang, a Varkari dreadnought known for vaporizing resistance cells and offering survivors a single choice: serve or vanish. It looked like a blade built for gods, sleek, black, humming with energy. On its bridge, High Marshal Kortal snarled as he watched the human outpost spin slowly above a barren moon. Primitive, he spat. No planetary defenses. Minimal. Escort. A child's trap. His lieutenant, smaller and nervous, nodded. Shall I deploy shock troops? No. Send a full boarding crew. Let them watch their last line die. The drop pod screamed from the belly of the dreadnought, descending like a storm. The outpost didn't resist. Not at first. Inside, the lights flickered, and Carl the AI sighed dramatically. Do they always assume we're defenseless? Amateurs. The Yao. First Varkari teams breached the docking bays. They expected panic. Instead, they got Boomer. He stood on a stack of ammo crates, chewing bubble gum. Hey, welcome to Earth's Express line. No waiting, just dying. He lobbed a grenade straight into the breach, the corridor filled with fire. Behind him, Marines roared into position. They moved fast like veterans of a dozen impossible battles. Because they were. The Varkari charged. They didn't charge long. Jack landed 3 minutes later, boots hitting the deck beside Boomer. Status? Boomer grinned. We're winning. And I only needed 2 grenades so far. Personal record. Cindy's voice crackled over comms. Jack, they've realized. Enemy fleet's changing formation. They're scanning for trap signatures. Good, Jack said. Let them look. Because while the Varkari scrambled to make sense of the humans' absurd resilience, they missed the real trap. Above them, hidden in the shadow of the moon, a second human fleet decloaked. The USS Retaliator, Hope of Jersey, and the Righteous, Rage of Uncle Larry, a name Boomer had insisted on, emerged with weapons primed. Jack gave a nod. Every gun opened fire. The sky lit up. The Veil Fang tried to reposition, but its sensors were jammed. Its targeting system scrambled by Earth-designed interference, delivered in the form of a looping signal that repeated Rick Astley's "never gonna give you up" until its processors shorted out. The humans weren't just fighting, they were trolling. Boomer hijacked a channel. Hey Kortal, got a riddle for you. What do you get when you cross arrogance, overconfidence, and poor life choices? The only response was static, followed by an explosion as one of the Varkari support cruisers lost its starboard wing. Jax, voice cut in. This is Commander Monroe of Earth Defense. You were warned. You ignored it. You harmed a child and thought no one would care. The last thing Kortal saw on his forward screen was Tanari's face. Not crying, not broken, smiling, the Veil Fang exploded in silence. The battle didn't last much longer. When it was done, the humans retrieved what survivors they could. Varkari prisoners, stunned into silence, were loaded onto dropships and dropped at the edge of council space with one message etched into their minds. This was for one voice. Imagine what happens if we all start screaming. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed. No longer were humans a curiosity. They were a warning. Treat your weakest kindly, or Earth will arrive not with diplomacy, but with war paint, war drums, and an endless playlist of 80s rock. Tinari stood at the observation deck of the USS Heavy Metal, staring out at the stars. Jack joined her, arms crossed. "They'll talk about this for centuries," he said. She nodded. "Good. You ready for what comes next?" "I am now," he smiled. "So, want to help me name the next operation?" She blinked. "You're letting me name it?" "Why not? You started all this." She thought for a moment, then smiled like mischief itself. "Call it Operation Crybaby." Jack chuckled. "Perfect." Behind them, Earth prepared, not for peace, but for vigilance. Because in a galaxy built on silence, one child's cry had shattered the quiet, and humanity had answered with a roar.